was kind of like a shock, like, holy cow, I just got drafted. This is everything I want. And now I'm in Clearwater, Florida at this like minor league complex, just like in the grind again. I loved the grind of it, but just the satisfaction of finally getting to the big leagues means so much when you've put in time in the minor leagues. I always say the big leagues is a different game. And I think any high-level athlete will probably tell you this. I love the boring stuff. It's the small, simple stuff that helps your skill development, the monotony of it, because like that's the stuff that's going to get you better. So you got to kind of fall in love with the process of doing the small things, because the small things, as you know, lead to the big things. Made it to the big leagues in 21, had a great year, and then in 2022 made it to the big leagues and played horrible. I'm doing everything I can. Like, why am I not getting the results?
Yeah.
Like, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
You could do everything you can. Like, you could take 1,000 or 100 swings a day. You could do all your preparation. That does not mean you're going to do well. But that struggle helped me, like, down the road. When you struggle, you can't, like, think the world's ending. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you're going to be fine. It's like, you're going to be okay. Every storm only has so much rain. At the end of the year, it makes everything so much sweeter when you've dealt with all that stuff and you got through it. And that's what makes baseball, I feel like, a lot like life. It's super hard, but also super gratifying. Like, it teaches you a lot.
Hey, Matt, how are you?
I'm good, Tommy.
Morning's off to a good start.
Morning's good. Yeah, thanks for having me on, dude.
Yeah.
This is sweet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll just get right into it. Obviously, you just signed your first big deal in the MLB with the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah.
Because kind of walk me through that process. I know the MLB versus the NHL, kind of that entry level is a little bit different of a process.
Yeah.
So what were like the first 3 years of your contract versus how does that change now? I know it was like your first chance for arbitration, but what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, so at least with baseball, the team that drafts you has like 6 years of control.
Yeah.
Of whatever, however long. It's all going by service days. So Philly drafted me in 2018. Then you're in the minor leagues just trying to grind your way to get up. And then once you finally get there, then your 6 years start with that team. So I was with Philly for I think it was like a year and a half. It ended up being once the days had finally accumulated. And then Detroit, I got traded over there. Then they got my rights. So then they had me for the next 4.5. But yeah, man, once you get past your first 3 years, you then go into arbitration, which is like a pay raise, which is like everybody, there's these like checkpoints that you want to get to, and that's one of them. So, this will be like my 4th full year, even though it's like parts of 4 seasons, it's like you're half and half sometimes. But yeah, you get a little bit of a pay raise, and I'm pretty proud. Like, not a ton of people get to this point, so it's kind of cool to get here. But yeah, it's definitely not an easy process, like going through it and stuff like that. I'm not sure how NHL. I think every league is fairly similar.
Yeah.
But at least in baseball, this is your first time where you have a little bit of control over what you're getting paid.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of nice. I mean, you have your agent, and they're talking with the team, and they're kind of negotiating. I'm not in the negotiations necessarily. Like, I would be kind of lost trying to argue about stuff like that. But luckily had a good agent and got it figured out. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Did you learn a lot? Because, up until this point, you're probably not thinking as much on terms and all that stuff. So did you learn a lot about contracts and all that throughout this process?
You learn a ton. I mean, the way my agent went about it was like, hey, we're going to teach you how this is going to go. Like, some agencies or whoever's representing the player is kind of just depends how they go about the process. But my agent was like, we want our players to know what's going on, know what these terms mean. There's a bunch of different terms with arbitration that, are specific to that process. But yeah, my agent was like, we want you to learn about what's going on so that when the time comes, you understand what they're trying to do, what they're saying. I mean, even when you're in the locker room, like certain language about arbitration, we want you to understand what, when guys make comments, like what they're referring to.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, I'm on the side where I don't want to know what I'm worth. I don't want to know anything that has to do with my performance, like until it's all said and done. So like a lot of arbitrations based on that previous year.
Right.
So for that would have been 2024. And I was like, I don't even want to talk about where I'm at as far as like a dollar figure or what I could be at until the season's done, until like my performance is over, and then we can kind of go from there. But it was a cool process, man. It wasn't too stressful. I know for some guys it's a pretty stressful ordeal, but it really wasn't all that bad with me. So it's just the team trying to negotiate with you and all that stuff can get stressful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's cool. So that was, I'm assuming, a conversation with your agent. Like, you don't want to talk dollar value, all that stuff until the season's over.
Yeah.
Is that just because you want to stay focused on your craft?
Right. Yeah, I would get so in my head if like, oh man, I'm worth this. Like if I can keep playing good, it'll go up. Or if I have to keep playing this way to keep it at the same, dollar figure. Or, if I keep playing worse, like it'll go down. You know what I mean? I don't like I kind of did the same thing when I got drafted. My agent was like, I'm not going to talk to you about where all these teams have you or where you're going to be until the season's over, because some guys like that. For me, I was just like, I'll get in my head about it. I'll overthink it. So just don't even talk to me about any of that. I just want to play. And then when it's all said and done, let me know where I'm at. So that's it was the same philosophy going from being drafted into arbitration. So that kind of goes for me with everything. You gotta just knowing yourself. I'm like, I will overthink something like that. So, or I'll get in my head about it. So just don't think about it. And when it's all said and done, then we'll know where we're at.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And just knowing you, it makes a lot of sense too. 'Cause you just love baseball.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that you're just like, all right, I'm just going to focus on being better at baseball, and hopefully that results in a better figure. But
don't talk to me about like all the noise outside. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to know that all that stuff is just going to affect my performance. Like, and it's just kind of BS. Like I don't want to deal with it right now. Like totally, it matters to me and everything like that, but it matters too much to me. Like if you tell me during the year, I'll start thinking about it. So it could be a distraction, I guess I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so obviously that, this off season is a little bit different in terms of, that's part of the process that you're going through.
Yeah.
Now you're obviously through it, but what does your off season look like? So like, how are you're focusing on your craft? What are you doing each day, each week, outside of, the negotiation process? Yeah. So at least with the negotiation process, that was like really like a 1 week of, being by the phone. So other than that, I was like pretty much just dialed into whatever my off season was. So it was a lot of like lifting 3 to 4 times a week. And then started doing some running around December, took some time off from that. And then baseball activity, like hitting, throwing, fielding stuff, that was all got going in December too. So we made the playoffs this year, so I tried to give myself a little more time off. Usually it would have been like middle of November I would have started doing things, but it was around early December when I started like really turning things up. And then once January hit, it was kind of go time. I've started like really dialing in stuff as far as baseball. I like to see pitching machine in the off season, so you could dial the machine up to like 100 miles an hour and kind of face velocity that way, or nasty breaking balls or sinkers, kind of just to emulate what a pitcher would do on the mound. So it's been good. I mean, it's every off season's fairly similar, but it's also unique in what you went through the year before. Yeah. I also did some like physical therapy stuff just to like
clean up certain things that I had from last year as far as like, leg stuff or back stuff or throwing shoulder, just to clean some stuff up to kind of make yourself feel better. So every offseason's a little different, but it's all fairly the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because is lower back, has that been you took like one game off or something for lower back last year, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just throughout the course of the season, you deal with little aches and pains. And for me last year, that was one where I was like, you play 150 plus games or 140 plus games, certain things tighten up at certain times, and that was something for me. But all good now. But it's impossible to go through the whole year without dealing with a couple things. Like I'm sure some of your buddies that play hockey, I mean, it's like probably every couple games or something they're dealing with. You know what I mean? But at the end of the year, it makes everything so much sweeter when you've dealt with all that stuff and you got through it. Yeah. It's pretty satisfying. So just stuff you deal with.
Yeah. I'm sure. Because you logged like 140, 44 games or so.
I think it was right around there.
Yeah.
And just that's the goal, is just to play as many games as you possibly can. And I like to be that guy that can be there for the team every single day. So whether I'm in there or not, it's kind of up to the manager's discretion, and that's totally okay. But if you can be available for the team, that's like my biggest thing. If I can be there for them, regardless how you're feeling, as long as it's nothing too serious, if you can be there, that means everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it like? Obviously the minor leagues is one thing, but even coming up playing in Philly, I think your first season you put like 37 games in the MLB, and then you made a pretty big leap your second season, and then, playing for Detroit, you're at 130, 140 games a season. What's it like making that jump to just playing and just that volume of games?
Yeah. So I will say this, like in the minor leagues, they do have you playing a ton of games.
Yeah.
So the minor league schedule is different though. You get one off day a week, so you kind of do get a little bit of a break, whereas in the big leagues, you're like traveling every 3 days. Yeah. Every 4 days, you're going to a new city or you're going home. But it's they do teach you to play a lot of games. So I still played a ton of games in the minor leagues, but I always say the big leagues is a different game. Just with the travel, the stadiums, the fans, the game's different too. I mean, you play meaningful games. In the minor leagues, you're still playing meaningful games, but you're not focused on winning as much. You're kind of more focused on your own performance, because if you perform well, you get to the big leagues.
Yeah.
In the big leagues, if the team wins, the team pretty much stays together.
Yeah.
So you're focused on winning. But for the most part, just playing a ton of games and dealing with that adjustment, you just find different ways to like get your body right, different ways to deal with the travel, the recovery stuff they have in the big leagues is by far and away probably better than the minor leagues, as far as just like cold tub, hot tub, sauna. Like they have those type of resources in the big leagues, versus in the minor leagues you don't really have those. But you really need them. I mean, you're really working every single day. You're putting your body on the line. So just the adjustment to playing all those games, I've probably used those recovery modalities more than I did in the minor leagues. So.
Yeah.
But it's an adjustment, though. I mean, you're dealing with a whole new set of like anxieties, with all the fans and the stadiums and the pressure and stuff like that. It's definitely different. Pitching's better, everything.
Yeah.
So
you're under a little bit more of a microscope.
Yeah, and you really got to perform.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like and then there's a whole side of the coin of, you want to stay. Like they always say, it's harder to stay in the big leagues than it is to get to the big leagues.
Right.
Like once you get there, great, but now how do you stay?
Yeah.
And that's you got to like prove yourself. And that's what I feel like is the hardest part.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of that road, so you had such an interesting route. You're drafted in 2015, St. Louis Cardinals, 30th round. Yeah. And then you go to Notre Dame after that.
Yeah.
Then you get drafted 2018 to Philly.
Uh-huh.
And then you've got 3 years before you actually crack your first major league game.
Yeah.
What is it? So that's, from draft in 2015 to 2021, that's 6 years of like,
am I going to make it?
Yeah.
Am I going to, yeah.
And a lot of people, it's like, they're like, oh, he got drafted. Congratulations, you made it. Like,
but that's not it in the major leagues or in baseball. That's not how it is. It's like, and it's, I guess, like hockey too, a little bit. Like you kind of got to go through a little bit of a grind, but like football and basketball, like NFL and NBA, there's more of a direct route.
Yeah.
To the show.
Yeah.
But in baseball, it's like, it's a little better now as far as like they're calling up younger guys with less time in the minor leagues. But I feel like that all changed once COVID hit.
Yeah.
They sped things up. But I'll tell you what, it was, those 6 years. I mean, I get drafted in 2015 to the Cardinals, which I was always going to go to Notre Dame. I mean, unless some team came in with a crazy offer. Yeah. And then once, your whole goal all of college is to, like, for me at least, was to get drafted and play in for an organization. And then I get drafted in 2018. And then you're like, oh, okay. Like, I made it there. And now it's like, okay, now you're going on to, like, Williamsport, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And you're going to go, like, well, I'll never forget, I get drafted and I go down to Clearwater, Florida.
Yeah.
And I walk into the room and there's like 80 Latin American baseball players just like playing Latin America. It was like a culture shock.
Yeah.
Like, and they're like 16, 17, 18 years old.
Wow.
In like the minor leagues. And it's like, this ain't Notre Dame. You know what I mean? Like, it was like more of a grind than Notre Dame. So I'm like, it was kind of like a shock. Like, holy cow, I just got drafted. This is everything I want. And now I'm in Clearwater, Florida at this like minor league complex, just like in the grind again.
Yeah.
And so then I go to Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and that's like, where the Little League World Series is played, but it's in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania, playing at a small ballpark. Go through that, and then I went to Lakewood, New Jersey, and you go to all these stops along the way within those 3 years, and, it's just, I loved the grind of it. Like, you end up, some of my best friends are through that time period of grinding through the minor leagues. And then once you finally break it through and get to the big leagues, it's also like, okay, now my clock is starting in the big leagues. Now my 6 years is starting. I just put 3 years in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's kind of a adjustment. It's kind of can be overwhelming at times, but just the satisfaction of finally getting to the big leagues means so much when you've put in time in the minor leagues. And I didn't even put in a ton of time in the minor leagues. Yeah. I know guys that have put in like 5 or 6 years in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
And have like gotten a couple days in the big leagues, or maybe not even. So
yeah.
It truly is a grind, and everybody's path is different.
Yeah.
So it's wild.
Yeah, I can imagine that level of intensity.
Uh-huh.
Like, because at Notre Dame, you're playing college baseball, which is obviously a massive step up from high school, anything you played, youth baseball.
Yeah.
But there's still, there's guys who are, like they say in the NCAA, you're going to go professional in something other than baseball.
Yep.
You show up to that locker room in Clearwater, and it's like everybody's only goal is to make it to the major leagues.
Yeah.
Is it just like that intensity and that grit? I'm sure even just the emotion of everybody there is escalated.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you're 20, the college guys or high school guys get in there when you're 18, college guys when you're 21, usually. But yeah, there's an era of like, you're playing for yourself. Yeah. You know what I mean? And there's times when, you really focus on you. And that can be dangerous at certain times. Like, you're focused on your stats, your performance, what can I do to get to the big leagues? And you have to think that way to a certain extent, but at the same time, it's like it can be very individualized and like selfish when you start thinking like that. But yeah, the intensity goes up because you're in professional sports.
Yeah.
Everybody's there to make it up and make it up for themselves. So the intensity goes up. It's different than college. I had a mentor of mine tell me, he's like, enjoy college, because it's the only time when you're like playing for something more than yourself, you know, until you probably get to the big leagues. Like when you get in the minor leagues, everyone's playing for themselves. Yeah. Everyone's playing for their stats. Everyone's playing at the end of the day, to make it to the big leagues. Mm-hmm. And at least Philly, when I was with them going through, they did a great job of like getting us out of that and promoting more on winning and team and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you have to really think about yourself. Yeah. So, the intensity goes up. You really got to fight for you at that point. So it's a interesting road. It's fun.
What was the hardest year for you in that minor league process?
Hardest year, no doubt, was 2019. Okay. It was, so I get drafted in 2018, go to short season in Williamsport, and then low A in Lakewood, New Jersey, play great, have a good off season. I think I might have saw you a couple times that off season at Mizzou. I think. Yeah. I think I did, because my brother was playing there. Yeah. But you're still like in that college mode, and then I went to high A in 2019, and was good for half the year, and then completely tanked the last half of the year. And like that last 3 months of the season was super hard for me. Didn't play good. Kind of like, not say lost love for anything, but like was like, okay, like this wasn't working. You know what I mean? So luckily had some great friends along with me in the minor leagues. Like some of my best friends were on my team at that time, so they got my focus away from baseball. Yeah. But I went into that off season and was like, okay, I got to change something up. Like I got to figure something out with my swing. Yeah. To kind of have more success. Yeah. That was the hardest year. Like probably put too much pressure on myself, all that stuff. Another really hard year I had, so that was in the minor leagues. Another really hard year I had was in 2022 when I made it to the big leagues in 21, had a great year, like probably one of my best years ever playing. And then in 2022, made it to the big leagues and played horrible, like completely tanked again. Yeah. And got sent down to the minor leagues. Struggled, even in the minor leagues, struggled for like 2 or 3 weeks to like gain my footing again and get my confidence back. But that all just stemmed from me putting too much pressure on myself and trying to be. Baseball's like a subtle game. Like you gotta like have this perfect, not perfect, but you gotta have this perfect like air of not trying too hard. I feel like that goes hand in hand with every sport. Like if you try too hard, it can kind of be detrimental to your performance. So once I got past like putting too much pressure on myself and not caring, I started being successful again. That's kind of the rabbit hole I always go down if I struggle. It's like trying too hard. Yeah. Yeah. You got to kind of trust the process. Trust the work you've put in. When you struggle, you can't like think the world's ending. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, hey, you're going to be fine. It's like, just, you're going to be okay. Yeah. You know what I mean? But when you get wrapped up in it, it's hard. Yeah. How when you're in the negative mental mindset, feeling down on yourself, how do you snap yourself out of that? It's hard. Yeah. You know, when you're like, it's hard. Super hard and you get like emotional and stuff like that. Finding ways to not be so focused on your performance. So like the times I've struggled, I've tried to like, believe it or not, like go out a little bit more. Yeah. Like play more golf. Yeah. Or like go hang out with guys on the team more. Yeah. Or like, you know, call my buddies more. Yeah. Try to just like get out of that realm so much and try to find different ways to have fun, because that gets you out of like that emotional, you know, down feeling that you're having. But it's hard, man. Like, it's not like, if I just do this, I'm out of it. Right. You know, like in all reality, what gets you out of it is like getting hits or like having success. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how that translates into like the business world or in your realm, like real estate stuff. Like if you're in like where you're losing your confidence or down bad, you're like, how can I get out of this? Like, well, like hell, if I sell a couple more homes or, have a couple good ones, or baseball. If it's like, if I have a good hot streak, like I'm good.
Yeah.
But like, what if that doesn't come? Like, how do you handle it? Like,
yeah.
It's so hard to deal with.
Yeah.
And that's what makes baseball, I feel like, a lot like life, and super hard, but also super gratifying. Like it teaches you a lot,
Yeah.
So for me, it would just be getting out of that mindset and trying to do other things, get my focus off of baseball.
Right.
So
yeah,
maybe have a couple more cocktails. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Take the edge off a little bit.
Take the edge off a little bit. Relax. Yeah.
No, that makes sense, because I'll notice that too. It's like when you're
not flowing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's no flow.
Yeah.
And you're like trying to grit through everything, and that doesn't always work. Like I remember that as an athlete too. It's like, well, I'm working the hardest in the work.
I'm doing everything I can. Like, why am I not getting the results?
Yeah.
Like, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Like, you could do everything you can. Like, you could take 1,000 or 100 swings a day. You could do all your preparation. That does not mean you're going to do well.
Yeah.
But it helps to do all that stuff. You're putting in the time and the work, but at the same time, it's also good to like take a step back.
Yeah.
Like I've noticed at certain times, like hitting's a great example. You're going through a hitting slump, or you're not getting hits. Okay, what do I do? If I take 100 swings a day and get that feeling back, I'll do good again.
Yeah.
Well, no, you might still like hit it right to the guy.
Right.
So sometimes I've noticed, like, why don't I take only like 15 swings today?
Yeah.
And then just like go back up to the locker room and chill.
Yeah, exactly.
And my hitting coaches are great. They're like, yes, do that.
Okay.
And then you go into the game and you're like, well, see what happens. Sometimes that's better.
Yeah.
Not trying is hard.
Yeah.
So I really think like not trying as hard is a key to getting out of those funks. In anything. Like I feel like that in life too. Like not trying so hard, not putting too much pressure on yourself.
Yeah. And just kind of changing it up a little bit.
Just changing it up. Yeah.
This was interesting. I heard somebody talking about the concept of like to be great at something, you can't let intensity you can't sacrifice longevity for intensity, because like intensity helps you a lot in the short term.
Yeah.
But to gain longevity, sometimes you just have to extend your time horizons. Just know, like, well, if I just keep showing up, eventually the tide will turn.
Yeah.
When you were in that negative headspace in 2019, because then it got compounded by a canceled season in 2020.
Yeah, which actually was great.
Oh, it was? Okay.
I felt like that was great. It gave me a break.
Gave me
a break, and like I loved COVID. Like,
I loved it too.
It was great.
Yeah.
I mean, I got my first summer at home since I was like 12. I like got to go to the lake with my family and like go on a boat. I'm like, God, I hadn't been able to do this ever.
Yeah.
But I felt like that was good for me.
Yeah.
Kind of was on that same token of like taking a break a little bit can sometimes be good. Came at the right time. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Like if you, what was it? Sacrificing intensity for longevity.
Yeah.
Like I agree with that. Like you kind of take a step back and kind of just like, I'll never forget, Nick Castellanos was going through like a hitting slump, and he said to all of us, he was like, Torrey Hunter, great outfielder, told him like every storm only has so much rain. Like eventually it's going to stop.
Yeah.
Like you'll get through it. Like, and in the moment, it's like, it doesn't feel like it ever will,
right.
But it does. Like you'll get through it. You just got to keep showing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This too shall pass.
Yes. And it's not like we got it all figured out. Like,
right.
But it's going to come again. But it's just like, knowing that helps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that's what helps with longevity in the end too, is now that you've gone through that, say you come up on a slump in the next couple of years.
You learn from everyone.
You're like, oh, you start learning that it does pass.
Yeah. You're not putting it, you're like, as soon as you get through one, you're like, it gives you confidence you can get through it again.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh man, okay, that sucked. I struggled for this amount of time. Well, you still came out of it pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, you like did well the next year. You did well a month after that or 2 weeks after that. Like you eventually got out of it. But it's like you just got to keep showing up, keep putting the work, play the game of like, do I need to work hard? Obviously, you're going to work hard. Do I need to like push and put in more work, or do I need to take a step back and like take the reins off a little bit and just like not think as much and just let my play and just play and not think and not think.
Yeah.
Emphasize that. So it's interesting.
Can you remember any time when you were, say, youth, high school, college, where you faced similar slumps and you maybe over-catastrophized them as opposed to how you deal with that now?
Yeah, I went through a slump or just like didn't play good. Really like the first time I felt like this was after my sophomore year of college.
Mm-hmm.
Went to the Cape Cod League and played, and like probably was the worst hitter in the league.
Yeah.
It was bad. And I always have this joke with my buddy, or not joke, but just like we always like laugh at how bad we were playing, me and him, and he's still playing to this day. He's like 29. He was with the Yankees. But me and him both struggled really bad that summer, like no hope, you know, and that's like the most scouted league for college baseball players. Like if there's a time to succeed, that's the time.
Yeah.
And that like, it did not go good.
Yeah.
To the point where I was like, I think people were saying I couldn't hit with a wood bat. You know, like bad stuff. Like I met with scouts later that year when I was at Notre Dame for my junior year, my draft year. They're like, how you feeling after that? And I'm like, I'm good. Like I had to tell them, reassure them that I was still like, I'm good. Like it was just a bad 120 at bats I had that summer. But that struggle helped me like down the road, slowly but surely. Like when I would go through those slumps again or funks, I would like learn, okay, how do I handle this? You know, that was the time I learned, like, I got to go do something else. Like I got to go golf, or I got to go, you know, go hang out with my buddies, have a couple of drinks, relax, like not put so much pressure on myself. So that was a moment after my sophomore year when I was like, I didn't even know how to handle it. Like, I didn't know what to do, or I was like getting to my shell of like not talking and getting quiet, like struggling so bad. Like in those moments, got to get out, got to focus on other people, and get out of my like internal shell and like focus on having more fun.
Yeah.
Because in those moments too, you like don't have as much fun. You know what I mean?
You're right.
You don't enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
But when you're playing good, you're flowing, you're in it, right? You're in the moment, you're enjoying everything. So it's kind of like learning that you're in that funk and trying to get out of it. But that was my one time where I struggled bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. Yeah. But we got out of it.
Yeah.
We're good now.
Look at us now.
Yeah, we're all right.
If you, during any of those points, did you ever have the thought of like, maybe baseball is not for me? Maybe it's, you know, I'm majoring in business.
Yeah.
Maybe I should be a real estate agent.
Dude, so I went to Notre Dame to like protect. I was like, if I go to Notre Dame, I feel like if baseball doesn't work out, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
That was like my thought out of high school. Like I'll get a good degree and get a good job, but not really. I never really thought that. I always felt like, I was going to stick with it and give it a go. I never was going to like, thought I was going to quit.
Yeah.
Or thought like maybe this wasn't for me. I don't think I ever thought that. I always was like, okay, I'll get through it and I'll keep going. Like sometimes people will be like, did you ever think like, what would you have been if you weren't a baseball player? And like, I felt like if I got to that point where I was like, I'm done, I would have thought more about that, but I've never really got to that point. I've always been like, baseball's it. You know? So, I don't think I ever got to that point, but I mean, definitely went through my fair share of struggles. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. The more I start learning about, or the more I like think about, because I have the benefit of having grown up with a bunch of professional athletes and having like played sports with them growing up.
Right.
And the more I've thought about it, the more I've come to understand that it was that mindset that was the distinguishing factor, is like, this is my own, like the only option. Like this is the option I'm pursuing.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to Courtney about this the other day, because I remember you and me like hanging out in the pool one time, and we were talking about, because I was playing AAA hockey, you were playing like gamers baseball.
Yeah.
And we were just like, oh, like our parents should be so proud. Like, look at us.
Yeah,
like,
look at
everybody out. Everybody else is
like
out.
It's starting we're still going.
Yeah, we're still going. And I look back, and I do remember having that mindset. But then I remember like playing and going through like a slump and being like, and then I started doing the numbers.
Yeah.
I was like, well, this is the percent of youth players that are going to be able to play D1. And this is the percent that are going to go to, and I'm like running that math, and then you start thinking about your other options.
Yeah.
Whereas like the guys who end up making the majors, they're never doing those equations. They're just like, let's keep moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, the percentage stuff's like freaky.
Yeah.
How small it is.
It's crazy.
It's absolutely insane. I mean, the percentage of guys that get to, play college baseball is like slim. Or probably with hockey, guys that make it to college hockey or juniors is probably like fairly slim, or get drafted. Like it gets slimmer every time. When you look at those, it can be daunting.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You just like stick with it and find a way to still have confidence in yourself. I don't know. I mean, even to play at a high level in high school, like we both did, was pretty impressive. I remember having that conversation.
Yeah.
I think that same convo, I was like, I think you should be on SNL, Tommy.
Yeah. Pretty funny. You still have reminded me of that.
Yeah, we were at like Molly's pool or something. I was like, you should be in SNL. But I don't know. It's like you just stick with it and you try to find a way to keep going. I mean, my support system, like my parents or my dad or brother, like everybody was very helpful in like keeping me going. And obviously, when you're a sophomore, junior in high school, at least with baseball, getting interest from colleges keeps you motivated,
Yeah.
So getting interest to go play college baseball, Notre Dame was interested in me, and all of a sudden that motivated me to like be better in baseball, and like I want to play at Notre Dame, I want to keep going. So it was kind of like having those certain external things kind of keep pushing me, and then it kind of led me to like have more confidence in myself and keep having confidence to keep on going and to keep on making it to the next level. So that kind of helps your like work ethic, it keeps pushing you.
Yeah. I like it's a concept that I didn't wrap my head around until like within the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, as long as you just like it's that no quit. It's like, okay, if you're playing the the infinite game, it's like, okay, I've got 20 years. So if I just don't stop,
if you're going to keep going,
end in a good result.
Yeah, if you keep going, it's like I'll find a place to play. Like if I keep working hard and stuff like that. Like my brother, he just got done playing, and he didn't get drafted or anything, and he finished his 5th year at SLU. Well, he ended up getting signed with an independent ball team here in town and was playing with them.
Nice.
So it's like just keep on playing, keep on going.
Yeah.
He made it to professional sports. It's just like, just to keep on going, keep on pushing. If you really do, and I'm not saying you didn't, but just to keep on pushing, saying you love it. If you love it, just keep on going.
Yeah.
And eventually when your time has come. But it's if you just keep on that no give up attitude, keep on finding a way.
Yeah.
So
because your dad played college football at Kansas, right?
Yeah, he played there. Yeah.
I actually had I mentioned your name the other day, and because Courtney's dad, Randy Cloman, he played.
Oh, really?
He's like this 6'7" beast. Played college football.
Nice.
I think I was talking to his dad, and I mentioned your name. He goes, because is your dad's name Mark?
Dan.
Or no, it was Dan.
Dan.
Mark's your brother, and he goes, wait, is that Dan Vierling's kid? And I was like, yeah. He goes, Man, he was a hell of a ball player.
No way.
Yeah, he remembered him from like youth sports. They must have.
Did he grow up in St. Louis? Courtney's dad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he did.
So, yeah, I mean, that probably makes sense.
Yeah.
Like they probably ran. That's great. Dude, what high school? Like everyone always asks.
He went to Parkway West.
Okay.
And he like grew up, I want to say in like, I can't remember. Yeah, he went to Parkway West, but
yeah,
it was either from youth or high school football that they knew your dad.
Yeah, my dad, football and basketball is his thing.
Yeah.
Even though he'll tell me, he'll be like, baseball is my sport. I should have played baseball. But
yeah.
He played football and basketball. So, I mean, he coached me all through youth sports and like on Mary Queen of Peace, like with me and, you know, all those guys. Like him and John Bozeski's dad.
Yeah.
Those two would like coach our team. But yeah, he did a great job. He didn't push me, like forced me to do anything, only if I was interested in it. But I mean, the amount of times once I started kind of locking in on baseball, my sophomore year of high school, he started to, I mean, the amount of times he threw me batting practice.
Yeah.
And would just, my mom and dad, the amount of times they like took me to practice or all that stuff. They pushed me, but they didn't like, it wasn't anything crazy. If it was, they like kind of led me, but they didn't, you know, force me to do anything.
Right.
But they were great. He definitely had a huge part in like my development as an athlete, just to like, you know, I always looked up to him too, being like a good athlete himself. I was like, kind of like my hero, so to speak. Like you're kind of a young kid and you see like articles of your dad being a good athlete. You're like, oh man, I want to be like that. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But yeah, he had a huge part in it. He was great. And that's just funny. They kind of ran it or like know of each other.
Yeah.
He knew of my dad. Definitely like, I feel like that gets passed along when your dad's an athlete. You kind of like want to kind of follow that a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
And they, did he have any, was he like, you know, like a wordy, like, was he giving you any mantras? Was there any things that he would reiterate, like, you know, to you as an athlete? Or was he more, man, a few words, I'm going to show up, pitch practice, that kind of thing? He
was not a mantra guy. Like, that. He was the type to be like, I always loved it. He would coach us, right? Like he was an electrician. So, you know, he worked construction all day and he comes home and he'd take me to practice or he'd take my brother to practice. But I remember he would like, you can ask those guys too. He would like play pickup with us.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was great. Like he worked all day and then he would come and play pickup and he would be like, you know, backing us down in like the post or whatever in basketball, would kind of like teach us that way. He's just a very competitive guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he kind of led by example, I would probably say. And also he would get up at like 5 every morning, 5:30 to go to work, come home exhausted, and would still like take us to practice or do whatever. So he like taught my brother and I work ethic, taught us how to work. Same with my mom. My mom still works. Taught us how to work. So man of like fewer words.
Yeah.
As far as like sports wise, but was very good at like leading by example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And he's funny, man. Like
yeah.
He's unique. He's like just an interesting guy.
Yeah.
And he's himself. Like I've never met anybody like him.
Yeah.
And honestly, everybody on his side of the family is similar. Like they're all kind of crazy in their own way. But it's kind of, you know, just being around that is pretty funny and it like lightens the mood. He'd really lighten the mood over certain things. So
that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it was good. Like in slumps, I'm sure he was a good guy to call.
Oh, he's a great guy to call. Still is.
Yeah.
Still is.
Yeah.
This past year, I was up in Detroit and I was by myself up there staying in my place. And he was like, hey, I'm going to come up. Came up there, stay with me for like 3.5 weeks. I'm like, I couldn't get him out. You know what I mean? Like, staying in my extra bedroom. I'm like, you're enjoying this, aren't you?
Yeah.
Like, going to the games, like everything. He's like living with me, my roommate. I'm like 28 years old. I'm like, come on, Dad, what are you doing?
That's
was great.
So good.
It was great.
That is funny.
Funny guy, man.
Yeah, I know. That is very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so was he coaching that basketball team with
John
Smokey Bezeski?
Yeah, him and Smokey. Yeah. That was like the greatest time in their lives. They're still talking about that.
You guys, I don't think you guys never lost a game. You guys were just 4P.
I think 4P, never lost a game. They put like rules on us our, I want to say, almost said senior, our 8th grade year.
Yeah.
Like we couldn't score more. We couldn't beat a team by more than 30.
No way.
So we had to like kill the clock.
Pass the ball around,
yeah. Dude, we would like play AAU tournaments.
Yeah.
Or like city tournaments with that Catholic school team.
Yeah.
And we would beat them.
Yeah.
Like we were a good team, mainly because Eric was already like 6'1" in like 6th grade.
Yeah.
Like he was the big body in there and he was already like incredibly athletic. But we had a good time. I mean, we were really good. But John's dad used to watch the Webster basketball practices.
Yeah.
And like he would learn from Jay Blossom, who was a great high school coach.
Interesting.
And we would do their same practice or similar.
Yeah.
We were conditioned at like 10 through 14. We were like the best conditioned team in the city.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
That's sweet.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Our dads still talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
They loved it. So
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Did you ever think about pursuing basketball any further, or did you know like baseball was going to be your sport?
I got to CBC.
Yeah.
And I played JV basketball. And on my team, we had like Armand Watts, who played in the NFL. He's like 6'6".
Yeah.
Huge guy. Super athletic. We had a guy named Ray Doby, who I think played college basketball, I don't know. But I was like 6'1" at that time. And I'm like, I got to be way taller than this to play basketball. Basketball is probably my favorite sport.
Yeah.
But I don't think I had it. You know what I mean? Like I needed to be like 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", that could just shoot the lights out the ball.
Yeah.
And I think my sophomore year of high school, I was just like started struggling in basketball. Like I was like, everyone was kind of like, I was right around where everybody else was, and some guys were like getting better, and I was kind of staying right there. So and at that point, baseball started to take off for me. Like I started getting good at baseball, and started getting interest from colleges. So that's when I kind of knew. I was like, okay, I think baseball's the way to go here.
Yeah.
But basketball's hard, man. If you're not like, you got to be able to be really skilled. You got to shoot really well, dribble really well, pass really well. You got to be really skilled if you're going to be like 6 foot to 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah.
Once you get taller, you can kind of make up for that. But
yeah.
And there's so few spots.
Yeah.
You know, there's only an NBA team's only got like 12 guys on a team or something like that.
Yeah.
So baseball, you got like 26.
Yeah. There's like 2 rounds in the NBA.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 rounds.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Baseball, there was 40.
Yeah.
You know, now there's 20, but there was 40. You know, you had a better shot.
That's wild.
Yeah, crazy.
Kind of going back to getting better and how we were talking about, this was just crossing my mind while we were talking about it, and how you can't like always like grit your way through things or, you know, like right now in the off season, I know you'd mentioned something about like when you'd had a rough year, you knew it was time to focus on hitting. So I think a lot of athletes are like, okay, if I just go to the gym and if I do more sprints, more weightlifting, I'm going to be better. But how important has it been for you to just focus on skill development? And how do you deal with like the monotony of skill development?
Yeah.
Because it's not really like an adrenaline inducing activity.
Yeah. I think that, and I think any high level athlete will probably tell you this. I love the boring stuff.
Yeah.
I love it. Like we do stuff in spring training, where we do like glove, like you have your glove as a baseball player. We do like catching drills. Like how do you catch the ball? Whether it's like a backhand or a forehand.
Yeah.
Like just simple drills. Like I love being very good at those. Like it's satisfying. You know what I mean? So I feel like any high level athlete loves those little things in their sport, like a soccer player, right? Like passing drills.
Yeah.
They probably love those, or at least I would hope they would, or else they're incredibly talented to where they don't need to do that, which is like few and far between.
Right.
But like the small things I really enjoy. So like in the off season, I love hitting off a tee. It's like therapeutic. It's almost like a meditation sometimes. Like if you're ever going through something, or if I'm ever going through something, I like going by myself and just hitting off a tee.
Yeah.
Like I figure out more during that time than like anything, or like, just the small, simple stuff that helps your skill development, like the monotony of it. Like you better love it, because like that's the stuff that's going to get you better.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff like when you get to a high level, everybody's doing them.
Right.
Like you got to do it.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it, you're going to fall behind.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of fall in love with the process of doing the small things. And it's satisfying to be good at that stuff. Like I like that stuff. I think that plays a huge part into being a good high level athlete, is being good at the small things, because the small things, as you know, lead to the big things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's it's kind of, I think I told somebody that I was like, I love the boring stuff that people would find boring. Like someone watching would not like that. I love that stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is there any like particular drills that, like you were talking about are there any drills that you specifically do, or any things that you specifically like to work on?
Yeah.
That you feel like have set your game apart or helped you get better as a pro?
Yeah, for me, I would say like the glove stuff I was just talking about, like that's helped me become a better fielder.
Yeah.
Hitting off a tee, the ball's just like sitting there.
And when you're doing that, are you working on like rotation?
Yeah, like little mechanical cues and stuff like that. Like just like golf, right?
Yeah.
Like your shot in hockey, like little mechanical things. Like you're only going to find that when you slow it down.
Yeah.
So I like hitting off a tee. I'm able to like work through some little things, because when a ball's coming at you at 100 miles an hour.
Right.
Or 90, 95 or 90 or 85, and it's moving everywhere.
Yeah.
You can't think.
So you're just developing that muscle memory.
Exactly. That's
so
what that is.
Automatic.
Exactly. So there's like, not to get too deep in the weeds, but it's like, little mechanical things you work on. I like hitting off a tee a lot.
Yeah.
Fielding, I like doing glove stuff. I have a running coach. We work on like little running mechanical things.
Yeah.
Love doing that stuff. It's just like lifting, lifting's probably my one thing where I'm like, oh man, this is really hard.
Yeah.
Like in the off season, that's like my one thing. I'm like, man, this is a grind.
Yeah.
But once you're done with all that, like once you get through that, you're like, I'm going to be in a good spot for the season.
Yeah.
So that's why you go through it. But every single part of your off season, every single part during the season, you have like little things that you go back to that help you.
Yeah.
With like the little things. So those are some of the stuff. But as you keep on playing, you develop, routines within those little small monotonous stuff, and you end up liking them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you make like games out of it? Like
sometimes
have to get so
like
many catches before I can be done, or
we used to do in Philly, we would take early batting practice, and we would have like probably half the team out there.
Yeah.
And my one friend, Nick Maton, would, just the loudest guy in the room, would just talk shit the whole time, you know? And he is, and it would get everybody involved, but it was like, we'd put on like a curveball machine or a fastball machine, whatever. And we'd have, all those guys out there with Philly, and it would be so much fun. We'd call it an RBI game.
Yeah.
So bases would be loaded, and how many guys could you drive in each swing? So if you hit a ball to the wall, you'd have a judge there, like a hitting coach.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be like, oh, it's a double. 2 guys scored. So you get 2 points.
Yeah.
And, we would play games like that. So you play games within those. Another thing I like to do, like off a tee, I like to do like target practice.
Okay.
Like I'm like, okay, hit like that machine right there, hit that spot on the wall, or do that. So you find like little games within stuff that kind of break up the monotony of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So you were talking about like, and every job there's going to be that stuff that you love and then the stuff that you hate. And it sounds like lifting is one of those things where it's like you just got to do it.
That's a grind for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that so last off season, you were going from like hitting 10 home runs to 16.
Yeah.
Do you think weightlifting in the off season is a big contributor to that?
I think yes.
Yeah.
I do think more for that for me was figuring out my approach at the plate. It'd be like, taking more chances on inside pitches that I could pull for home runs. That was probably where most of that came from, but that wouldn't have been possible if I didn't put in the work to get stronger. You know what I mean? So, but a lot of that was just from approach, but definitely weightlifting had a lot to do with that. I mean, it all comes together, right? Like your approach, weightlifting, your work every day, the monotonous stuff we were just talking about, all that turns into, home runs or hits or success that you have, which is, like we were talking about, like that working hard piece.
Yeah.
So.
It's because you're a naturally fast kid, but I'm sure.
Yeah, I was always skinny.
Yeah.
I was always so skinny in high school. Like, I'm the type of person, I struggle to put on weight. Yeah. Some people, like, gotta lose. I'm always, like, trying to gain. Yeah. Like, everybody's a little bit different.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I'm always cutting is a freaking
Oh, my
grind.
God. Like, my girlfriend's always like, God, I wish I was you.
That's so funny.
She's like, I wish I could just eat whatever and like, lose weight.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know. Like, maybe it's better to be on my side. Yeah. But, like, it's still a grind.
It is.
I mean? Like,
it is.
I don't, like, I got to eat nonstop to gain, like, a couple pounds.
Yeah.
Or, like, I got to take creatine.
Yeah.
Like, put on, like, 3 or 4 pounds for me. Like, I have to. Like, if I don't do that, I'm not getting to where I need to be.
Yeah.
So.
It's so funny because I was jealous of kids like you when I was young. I was just like at the pool, like looking down, like, come on. But then when I get older and I'm like in the weight, because I like love lifting weights. That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
And then I see the kids who just want to be big. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Just
like
lift
once
weights.
you're older, it's like, it's a grind either way.
Yeah. Both sides.
If you want to be, good or great at what you're doing, it's going to be a grind.
It's both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
That's so funny.
Jesus.
All right. Yeah, no, I feel like we've covered a lot of the topics that I kind of wanted to. Is there anything, that we didn't talk about that you wish we'd covered?
Oh, man. No, we covered a lot of good stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. How's it being a homeowner now?
The homeowner's good, man.
Yeah?
Feels good.
Yeah, you got your roots laid down.
Got the roots laid down.
Yeah.
I'm out in Chesterfield now.
That's
so
nice.
So it's a little farther out than I'm used to.
Yeah.
Grew up in Rock Hill and Webster, but dude, it's good being like not paying rent.
Right.
You know what I mean? I just had the opportunity to be able to like buy something. I was like, let's do this instead of spending a couple $1,000s on rent every month. And it's like financially made more sense. And it's an adjustment though. Like you're on the hook for everything. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you're on the hook for everything. If something goes wrong with your washer,
right,
you got to figure it out. You know what I mean? Like if you're renting a place, call the landlord, you're like, help. You know, and they get it done. Yeah. So that was an adjustment, but being a homeowner is nice. I mean, last off season, I closed on it January 8th. Yeah. So I had like less than a month to get everything moved in. Yeah. And my girlfriend and I, we finally got everything moved in, and it was like, okay, got like a week, and then I'm out of here. Yeah. Now coming back this off season, I was able to like chill there for a while and like kind of like, like we got some patio furniture, got to like hang out there and stuff like that, and have a couple like family outings out there, stuff like that, have some people over. So it was it's good, man. It feels great. Yeah, it feels great. I love Chesterfield's a good spot.
It is,
and they're putting up that new development out there. Yeah, I'm like 5 minutes from there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So apparently it's going to take like what, 5 years?
Yeah, it takes a while.
But I heard they want to make it like a little bit like downtown Clayton.
Yeah, exactly. They want to make it like walkable kind of downtown area,
like,
which is very cool.
I'm interested to see not only what that'll do for the area.
Yeah.
Like, if more people are out there, but then also what that'll do to like home prices out there.
You're right.
That'll change them.
Yeah.
But it's good. When we were looking for houses, I was like looking in that Webster,
right,
Kirkwood, that area. Area is hard to find something like really affordable.
Yeah, it's tough.
Like, but once you expand your search out to down 64, 15 minutes, there's really good houses out there.
Yeah,
I found out.
I love it. Courtney grew up in Wildwood, so during COVID, I spent my time, and her neighborhood she's Wild Horse Parkway Drive, so it's literally Chesterfield and Wildwood both are in the neighborhood. It like splits halfway through. Yeah. So she's technically Wildwood, but so I was out there basically like living with her family during COVID. It was like the best time of my life. I'd love to run it back. Yeah. But I really started to love that area because I was in Brentwood obviously growing up.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a great area out there.
It's a good area. I like it. But yeah, being a homeowner feels good.
Yeah.
It's like, man, check that off the list.
Yeah.
Sometimes it felt a little like, man, I actually own this place.
Right.
It's like adult. Weird. Yeah, it's like I'm an adult. It's weird, but it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
So, you're down in the city, right?
Yeah. Yeah, over in the Grove.
Over in the Grove.
Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah, we really like it.
That's good.
And I think we'll stick city. I like being in the city.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's
like
good.
Just,
the
St.
culture
Louis,
of it.
local. You just gotta, it's boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll probably stick in the city for a little while. I don't know, who knows what the future holds for us.
Yeah.
So.
I feel like everybody wants to be in like that central St. Louis, Webster, Kirkwood, Ladue, Brentwood, like that area.
Very hot market.
But it's very hot. It's hard to get into.
Yeah.
I think like as of like a year or two ago, people were like, we were looking at houses, and then my aunt was my realtor, and she's like, oh yeah, that house, someone paid like all cash.
Yeah.
Like $100,000 over.
Yeah.
With no inspections.
Yeah.
And I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way I'm doing that for my first house.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, for one, I can't even do that.
Yeah.
And two, it's like, it's just people want to be in that area. It's very desirable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like, come on, I'm just a kid here. I'm competing with, somebody's parents or whatever who's helping with it. Yeah.
It's funny too. My parents, they're in Rock Hill, and they stayed there for like, they're still in that, like in their starter house. Yeah. Like that was their starter house, and they still are there.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
So that's where we grew up. And like, you see like younger people are moving into that neighborhood because that's like one of the most affordable spots, like centrally located. And like weirdest thing ever, like Drew Krogan calls me. He's like, yeah, Ryan bought the house right next to your parents.
No way.
Yeah. So Ryan's like, I was like walking into my parents' house, and Ryan's like getting out of his car. I didn't have time to go say what's up, but like, I was like, what the hell is going on? And like Drew was over there one day, like walked across the street over to my parents' spot.
That's so awesome.
This is nuts. So there's some affordable spots in those areas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody wants to be in that centrally located. But I love Chesterfield. You love the Grove. Like, there's good spots.
There's a ton of good spots. And that's what I love about like Chesterfield getting that kind of downtown development.
That'll help.
It's just good for St. Louis in general. We're starting to get some attention. We need people coming in.
Yeah.
And people are starting to notice, so I'm excited about it.
It's good. Yeah.
And I feel like before we wrap up, it would be we got to mention Allie. How great has it been? We were talking about like the relationship with your father, your mother, your family. How important has it been, having her by your side to get through these slumps, to get through every bit of this baseball career?
She is great. Like as far as, just being there for me. It's kind of like so simple, you know what I mean? But just having her there has been, without it would make things really hard. Yeah. So just having her there kind of also, like I've said in this like getting out of baseball mode.
Yeah.
She helps me with that.
Yeah.
I can also, be yourself. I'm myself with her, but she's extremely supportive. I think sometimes she's super competitive.
Yeah.
She's even more like gets fired up about things than me in the game. She's like, I can't believe that umpire, screwed you over. Like she's pissed. Like she was yelling at the guy in the stands. But she's been great, man. Just having her by my side throughout all this. I mean, we started dating in like the minor leagues.
Yeah.
So she kind of, right after I had that tough year, we started dating, and then we went through COVID together.
Yeah.
That was our first year dating, and then we kind of like, went through the minor leagues. She went through optometry school, so she went through her own grind, and then, which was very tough on her, but she learned how to work hard and go through that. And then me going through baseball. So she's been with me like every step of the way, and she's incredible. Just being it's invaluable to have her by my side, and she's been incredible for me, and her family too. Awesome people.
Yeah,
like they're a part of my support system now. So yeah, without her, I really don't know if I would be here.
Yeah.
As far as like having as much success as I am.
Yeah.
So she's been awesome, and she loves you and everybody, all my buddies, which is great, and she's got great friends. So everything with her has just been amazing, and without her, I don't know. It would have made things a lot harder, man.
Yeah.
A lot more lonely.
Yeah.
I would probably gone through those tough stretches, would have made them a lot harder.
Yeah. I've noticed that too. It's
probably with Courtney, same stuff. Like just having someone there is really nice.
It helps you just like extend your time horizons too when you're in like that commitment. That commitment level like translates to other parts of life too, I think.
Yeah. Family life.
Yeah.
Like you're like, hell, on off days we're like going on walks or doing other things, like helps you get out of that. What I mean? It helps you get out of the mode of it. It just is beneficial for everything.
Yeah.
So she's been great. I can't say enough good things about her. She's awesome.
That's good.
Yeah. And super competitive. That's what I would say about her too. She just pushes me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like will always push me.
I love that.
So it's good. Yeah.
All right.
Good stuff, Tesby. Love it, man. Thanks.
Stay
man.
dialed.
Yeah, stay dialed. Yeah.